How's it going, guys? Let me grab my phone here real quick. So we are going to be doing Diablo 2 Resurrected. Bringing it back to my channel, getting it. I'm going to start my recordings around dinner time as it is now, and then render them and eventually upload them. So you should see this one sometime tomorrow, and then which Monday's video would be on Wednesday. As usual, I'll try to keep them between Monday and Tuesday. If not, then it'll be like Tuesday and Wednesday, just because I'm going to have a really long weekend coming up, and I'm going to be super busy, and I'm going to be super tired and exhausted. So, we will be doing offline. I was going to do BattleNet, but it was kind of like, it's just not really worth it, because if you get disconnected in a recording, and sometimes Blizzard's lobbies go down for quite a while and stuff like that, it just doesn't seem worth playing on BattleNet, even though that's probably where most of my gear is. So we will be doing single player. We will not be doing hardcore mode, not yet until I get the rest of the challenges runs. I have to go through the rest of my Diablo 2 videos to see which challenge runs I've already completed, because some of them I already have in the past when I was looking over the old list. One of them that I know I have not done is either going to be a Molten Boulder / Volcano Fire Druid, or I'm going to do a straight Summon Druid. And I'm thinking we're going to go with the classic. We're going to go classic Summon Druid, but I want to kind of mix it up a bit. I don't want to make him just a straight Summoner. So, let's do that. Return. The volume's already decent high enough as it is, at least on my headset. Turn it just slightly bit, because where it's really loud on this headset, it's gonna be like really low in this one. So I think that should be right fine there. Create our new character, Druid. Just name Druid 1, screw it. Like, it's really gonna matter anyways. We're gonna be playing remastered. We'll see how far that gets, because remastered, original doesn't really matter to either one to me. Original will probably run a lot more smoother and stuff like that, because I actually haven't really played this too much in a long time, so I don't know what updates and crap like that they may have actually had and stuff. How the hell do you switch to classic? Isn't like C? No, that's that. God, it's been such a long time. B is to inventory. M is messages. A is your stat thing. F is to zoom. Oh, it's G is classic. Yeah, so let's throw this out. Oh, before we do all that, so let's go to our skill tree. Now, we do a Summon Druid. Grizzly will always be your best, because it's got the most health, it's got the most damage, overall, but you only get one bear. Now, I don't remember in Diablo 2 Remastered if they switched it to where you could have all your summons, or that was just a mod. Because in original Diablo 2, you could not have that. You know what? I didn't even check what time I even started. So let's say my phone actually decides to want to work 2 minutes in. You could go something like Solar Creeper if you're really low on mana. This is probably one I'm probably getting more lean towards. Karen Vine is more nice if you're going to do like shape-shifting type of druid along with summons, because this will continue to replenish your life unless you have some form of lifesteal. But considering that werewolf form is based on attack speed, normal attack speed, slow, and very slow, it's just not going to get it done. And then you have Poison Creeper, really good for the early stages, but once you start reaching around, I'd say Act 4, you're going to see a huge drop-off. Your Creeper is going to be getting killed a lot more. Same thing with Ravens, they eventually will drop off around Act 4. At least in the original ones, or original Diablo 2, for any of these type of builds. Since this is remastered, they changed a lot of stuff, like Ravens never got bonuses from us, the creatures in the original one. At the time, they would only be good, slowly damaging enemies, nice scouts, but once you started reaching like Hell difficulty, Poison Creeper and Ravens just don't really do as much. Spirit Wolves are nice once you get it to around Andariel, and she starts one-shotting them with her little Poison Nova. Dire Wolves were nice because, they were slightly better than the Summoning Wolves, however, you only got 3 instead of the 2. They could do some decent amount of damage or keep as a distraction when you go against Duriel. but they would not be very long, and they usually be more expensive than anything else. The bear is always nice, especially when you go against Bale and you need some form of a distraction, especially in hell difficulty and stuff like that. Most people usually put the 1 point Oak Sage if you're going to go, like, say, full, like, Hurricane build Druid, which is really nice. Oak Sage is only going to be beneficial when you have Poison Creeper or your regular Summon Wolves, because Ravens don't benefit it because they don't have a health bar. Most people, if they're going to go a Dire Wolf build, they're going to go with Heart of the Wolverine, because Dire Wolves and the enemy corpses, they gain attack power. Heart of the Wolverine is actually going to help you out, especially if you're going to be doing any form of physical or have a mercenary that's going to be physical, usually an Act 2 Mercies, which is going to be more beneficial for your summonings, whether it's a Druid or a Necromancer. And Spirit of Barbs, I've never seen really anyone actually ever use, maybe on hell difficulty, but that's like 1 in a million shot. Most people would usually use this for PvP than really PvE. But even then, it's almost never chosen. Same thing with Solar Creeper, because usually you're going to have some form of magic mana regeneration that's actually going to benefit a lot better instead of having to, waste 3 points to get this thing. Shapeshifting, we're not going to be bothered with whatsoever because there's just no complete point to it. And when it comes to kind of switching this, like I said, I don't want to make it a pure summon build, because summons are only going to last for so long, especially to go against enemies like Diablo, who's just going to one-shot him with his Inferno anyways. I get that away. What I think we're going to be focusing on is I'll put a few points into especially something like Cyclone Armor, but Arctic Blast is something, even the 1 point into Arctic Blast, the cold length is 4 seconds. So that'll be really nice. So I'm probably going to do a Arctic Blast summon Druid. You're not really going to put too many points in here for the damage itself. You just want the cold length, so especially stopping enemies like Diablo, who has his little fire ring, who has his little cold claw. He's going to move around a lot. He's going to use his Inferno a lot, especially when he's getting outnumbered. So still being able to freeze him for even for 4 seconds is going to make a really big difference, especially when you go against enemies like Duriel, who have that health, who have that attack speed. So it's going to make a pretty big difference. I don't know if putting more points into it's going to increase the cold length or if it's only going to remain 4 seconds. Most people do not do an Arctic build. They just use it as the skill points for Hurricane, or just put the 1 point in and then tree all the way down. I will not be doing Hurricane because it's one of the most overused type of Druids, especially on Battle.net. If you do not want to make a Sorceress, you do not have the gear to make a Sorceress, Druid one is actually really nice, because
so it begins.
They usually tend to have a lot of health, especially with their Oak Sage. You have your Cyclone Armor, which is going to protect you against a lot of elemental enemies, and then Hurricane is pretty much just going to whack them all around. So some objectives is most people usually will use Shapeshifting for their summoning Druid, because you gain more health depending on which shapeshift you're going to go with. Werewolf will probably be always the most popular one, because it's faster. You have access to lifesteal, increased attack speed. You're moving a lot faster. You are going to be weaker in your defenses and health, even with something like Oak Sage, just like that. In comparison to the bear, where it's more slower, it's a lot more tankier, but you're more limited to the skills that you're allowed, like Fire Claws and Shockwave and Maul, and it's just one of the reasons why it's such a rare chosen class amongst the Druid classes you can actually make. More so probably for PvP than PvE, just because most people don't really find it to be really that good. Never done myself in Remastered. I'm pretty sure I've had done the Werebear one on the old school Diablo. And when it comes to Fire Druids are pretty much only going to be good up to Act 4. Anything past that, you are really going to struggle, especially when using stuff like Fissure and stuff like that, which is going to be your best one, but because in at least an original Diablo 1, or original Diablo 2, along with Armageddon and stuff like that, its hitbox was really weird. Same thing with Blizzard Sorceresses. Its hitbox didn't match up where you actually put the spell at. So, it was only good for certain crowds. So you use something like, try to use it in the Maggot Lair or Arcade Sanctuary, you're really going to struggle because it's only going to be, you know, sanctioned to that specific pathway. It will not spread out and stuff like that. So that's why usually most people will, if they do that, they will go Fissure Molten Boulder, so that you have that option with Molten Boulders. You go into areas like the Maggot Lair and Arcade Sanctuary where you can actually take enemies out in a single line without actually having to worry about AoE and stuff like that. It's not going to hit as hard as Fissure will be, but it is still very beneficial in those areas. Then you have ones like Volcano, another one that's just completely useless. I almost never see anyone ever do a Volcano build. It's a rarity if I ever see anyone ever do an Armageddon build. If they do, they usually might go with Werebear just because of the more health and defense. I've seen Armageddon werewolf builds before, back in the day, but Armageddon, another one of those skills that's just the hitboxes do not match where the spell is coming from. So it's like, if this is your group of enemies and Armageddon is coming down, it'll hit within maybe like within this range, but it won't always hit the enemy. So it makes it kind of an annoying spell to ever use, and once you reach hell difficulty, fire is pretty much one of the most useless ones to actually have. Poison is probably your best option for hell difficulty, even though it might take longer, especially if you tend to build a poison necromancer or poison Jabzon. Stats wise, I'm not going to really worry about mana too much, since we're only going to be using Arctic Blast just for possibly bosses. Summons will take a lot of your mana, especially if you have multiple ones at once, but we're going to try to aim for Solar Creeper, you know, eventually. I think it's like, what, level 24, or is it 18? 24, so it's gonna be a while anyway, so I can start putting points to my energy if I need to, around maybe 10ish, and still have enough points to pretty much put in where else I need them. So as for right now, energy I'm not really going to worry about, because I can always just refresh an Arcara or any shrine or well that's going to refresh my mana. Health is usually what's really going to focus on the most, but because we're not going to be using Arctic Blast as a mandatory spell, and we are still going to use physical items, you still want to put points into your strength and dexterity to help you out. In this case, Druid's always best with blunt type of items, so your staves, your clubs, your maces, your flails and stuff like that, which are required, tend to have a lot of strength and dexterity to wield. You can go with two-handed weapons if you want to. I only highly recommend that if you're going to be doing a shape-shifting build. Otherwise, you want that defense. So, as I usually will, just go with like 2-2 and then 1. So, because my summons are what's going to be keeping enemies distracted, like in Daria and Doril, so that me and my mercenary can still actually attack him without actually really getting mollywopped by the boss too goddamn much. So. And of course, I was debating on face cam, but you know, why not? Just do it anyways. And you might see the ring light glaring off my glasses, so I do apologize, but I can't put any further away anyways, even if I wanted to, so. And I have them both going on, so. Summons are also going to be really good, especially in areas like the Maggot Lair, where you're going to have enemies like scarabs and stuff like that who have a second status effect of throwing out, you know, charge bolts and stuff like that, where they will actually be able to absorb those hits, comparison to you actually having to get in there and almost dying. Even with a few points in Cyclone Armor, it's only going to absorb so much of that damage. As your summons, just like a Necromancer, your actually Barbarian technically does have a summon too. Your Barb, your Necromancer, your Amazon, your Assassin, poison will eventually kill them over time, so just keep an eye on your summons. It'll be a lot easier with the Druid compared to the Necromancer, who can have up to like if built right, about 20 skeletons each, and then was it like one golem, and then I think that's about it. You can have, well, besides the revives, and you can have up to like 20 of those damn things too. So, at minimum, 30 strength is really most you're ever going to need for any form of spellcaster. You're really not going to need that much more strength than that unless you plan to go pure glass cannon. And since the summon druid is not going to be doing that, you know, we'll get at least 30 strength, and then we'll see where we go from there, because we can still reset our stats. That will still be more than enough to use some mid-tier weapons once we reach Act 2. As usual too, you want to keep up on your resistances and stuff like that, because even stuff with like cyclone armor, it will eventually wear off, or the duration of it will eventually disappear. So you don't want to go in there with like, hey, you know, I've got like 20 points of cyclone armor, but I've got like 0 resistances. I'm pretty much unbeatable. Not going to happen. You will eventually die. Oh, well, that's a hell of a start off. I'll take that. I think that's like probably one of the best things you can actually get as a spellcaster in the beginning of the game. That will definitely cover my disadvantage against Cold Crow, and give me some advantage against this Shaman boss down here, and Dario for that poison resistance. So I have to worry about any lightning ones. And that's one thing you'll notice too when you're doing Diablo 2 or Diablo 3 or whatever version of Diablo usually it is. Whatever your minus or your lowest resistance is, the game tends to generate that enemy that's specifically going to be strong against you. So since my resistance is lightning is at 0, I go get something like Blood Raven. She'll have some form of like lightning attack, you know, like static charge or some crap like that. So it makes it very interesting. What level are we? 3? Yeah. We'll double clear up blood more, and then I think in the next video we'll get to Den of Evil, but I want to pretty much get like the whole guide out of the way so that you guys know what type of build we're doing, stuff like that. As usual, I'll grind off screen anyways. If I'm getting like big uniques or anything like that, or anything I think that's really special with that, then I will post a short video of it or something like that, but makes it easier, so. Well, we have like 5 minutes left, so let's go find the Den of Evil. I think it should be up here. Filling Shrine, yep. Oh yeah. Might actually help if we actually put points into our thing. Now this is where the split goes, especially early on in the game. You know, your level 3, you can put your 2 points into Raven, and they only get 12 hits. Or you can put the point into Poison Creeper. You know, personally, I just split them both, because even though it's going to take slightly a little more mana early in the game, you know, it helps. Plus, Ravens have the ability to blind enemies, stuff like that. And with Ravens, you only really have to summon them once until their 12 hits are done, instead of actually having
this is where evil hides.
Having a summon that has a certain duration, which would have been complete ass if Blizzard went that way. I think Revive Corpses, or whatever the hell the spell is for the Necromancer, is the only one that actually has an actual duration. It's that one's like maybe 40 seconds up to a minute per one before they disappear, and that's just mostly to prevent lag purposes. Because Blizzard's Summon Necromancers and Meteor Sorceresses back in OG were the ones that would literally lag your game in bail runs, because either Necromancer had too many summons, or people would be spamming Blizzard and Meteor shots to the point where it would just lag out and time out the bot, and then you'd have to wait, you know, a certain period of time to get back to the game. And as that Raven just disappeared. I would pretty much save spamming your ravens, especially if you only have the one. It isn't really going to make much of a difference where a poison creeper can take out multiple crowds. Save your points once you start reaching like 2 or 3 ravens at most, I would say. Maybe to the 3 or 4 if you max out at 5. You know, then you just re-spam back up, but it saves you on mana, especially if you have low mana like I do. The only thing with the poison creeper is he's going to be moving a lot more slower, besides having a health bar and stuff like that, which it should actually show my thing up there too. I forgot how to turn that on. He's not going to have that scouting speed like the ravens will be, but this is where ravens will come in handy. No health bar, but can still attack enemies. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about corpse lure. Forgot he's enchanted. And I don't have a goddamn thing to. Axes are another good thing for the Druid. Rarely people ever use them though. We got 2 minutes left to knock out the rest of this so I can get this. You know what? What we're actually going to do is we're going to actually end the video here, because anything past 20 minutes, my internet is going to take a shit. But yeah, so this is going to be our new, I guess, Diablo walkthrough, you know. So expect more Diablo 2 Resurrected. It's more of a simpler game. It's not going to take as long to put up, you know, any guides or any, you know, walkthroughs, videos of it, so, and it's not going to be too complicated for people where they can't follow and stuff like that. And it's not a AAA game, but I don't care. Diablo 2, either Resurrected or OG version, will always be a classic, and there's always going to be some form of people that are going to like the videos. But either way, stay safe, healthy, and sanitized. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below, make sure to share my videos. Hope the audio's alright. If not, I can always increase the volume up and stuff like that. And catch you guys in the next video.